Chapter 231. No one dares to be with my woman. She felt upset when she saw the news. She knew it was fake, but she still felt uncomfortable. She didn't want William Walton to have anything to do with Betty Anderson at all. She put the phone down and leaned over to pick up the book from the bedside table. She should have believed in William Walton. She wanted to read books to calm her emotions. However, she couldn't read the words that would have come to her eyes on their own. Around noon, a second news was released. William Walton attended the important business meetings and went along with Betty Anderson. They weren't in the same frame, but they were in the same place, judging from the background. She bit the corner of her lips gently, unable to calm down any longer. She left the room and went downstairs to take a look. But just as she walked out of the profound entrance, she saw Benjamin Walton anxiously running over. She originally thought that Benjamin Walton would help William Walton explain something. When Benjamin Walton opened his mouth, only then did she realize that even he did not know what William Walton was doing. "Laura, did you see the news? Didn't William go to a meeting? Why is that fake face witch also here?" She shrugged. "I don't know either. So far, William has never told me anything." "Then you should call and ask him. Isn't he your man?" She felt embarrassed and she said, "He went to work. What if I call and affect him?" "If you take the initiative to call him, he'll be happy no matter how busy he is. Hurry up and ask." She took out her cell phone and was about to make a call when her phone rang. Benjamin Walton moved closer and asked, "Is it William?" Betty's name was displayed on the screen. Benjamin Walton said angrily, "What is the fake face trying to call you for?" She shook her head. "You always ask me about things that require my divination. Then answer it." After Benjamin Walton finished speaking, he snatched the phone away and picked it up, saying angrily, "Counterfeit witch, what are you trying to do by calling?" The person on the other end was stunned for a moment before asking, "Who are you? Isn't this Laura's phone?" "I am her brother-in-law, the fourth brother of William Walton, Benjamin Walton." "So it's Benjamin." Betty Anderson flung away the cold voice that she had doubted just now, and laughed. This form of address, brother-in-law, is not something that can be called in any given occasion. Third Master and Laura Green are not married yet. They are eating and living together. For a conservative person like William, Laura Green is Laura, while you, with your fake face, are already so ugly, yet you still dare to show off. You might have the guts to perform cosmetic surgery, but can you not go out and scare people like this? You actually dare to covet William. You probably haven't looked in the mirror after finishing your makeup. Hearing Benjamin Walton scolding Betty Anderson so directly, she lowered her eyes and laughed softly. This brat scolded her well. On the other end, Betty Anderson said depressingly, "Don't speak nonsense. I did not undergo plastic surgery. Furthermore, I am not ugly. Your taste is bad." "Indeed, you are one from Anderson family. I'm telling you, it is easy for me to find out the name of the hospital where you did your surgery. Don't try to act in front of my eyes. Also, if you want to marry into Walton family, only if I die." Betty Anderson panicked and stomped her feet. "Don't think that since you're Third Master's little brother, I will let you go. I'll tell you this, regardless of whether you are willing or not, you better wake up and wait for the day I become your sister-in-law to see how I take care of you." Benjamin Walton laughed coldly. "That's why I said you don't know what you're worth. I'll make a bet with you. If you can marry into the Walton family, I'll come out from Walton family. But if you can't marry into the Walton family, do you dare to come out from the Anderson family?" "I'm not going to get angry with a child like you. Let her answer the phone." Betty Anderson still couldn't control her temper. Benjamin Walton laughed disdainfully. "You want to talk to Laura? Then who do you think you are? No way, let me tell you, if you dare to create trouble for Laura, I will let the reporters expose you. If you don't believe me, you can try it yourself." After he finished speaking, he directly hung up the phone. After hang up, Betty Anderson stomped her feet and shouted angrily, "Benjamin Walton, just you wait. Once I become William's wife, I will definitely get Mr. Walton to kick you out of Walton family." Benjamin Walton returned the phone back to her. "You don't need to answer this witch's phone calls in the future." She looked at him and she smiled. "I've always thought that you have a very docile personality. I never imagined that you would be so thick-skinned." "I am not thick-skinned. It's just that I don't like those people from Anderson family. In short, don't worry, Laura, I will support you on this matter. If William really wants to marry that demoness, then I will go along with you and not recognize William." She smiled. "That's enough. Stop acting with me. I'm fine. I trust William." "Laura, your words are hurting my feelings. I am truly supporting you." Laura Green gave him a thumbs up. Fine. I said something wrong." "Don't worry. Go ahead. I'll call William in a bit." Benjamin Walton said. "Then I need to go to the pub. It will open for business in a few days." "Go." "Laura, are you sure you're all right?" She nodded. "It's fine. I'm very sure." After Benjamin Walton left, she called William Walton. Sure enough, William Walton was very happy when he received her call. "Do you know when I am happy?" She knew what he wanted to say. "When I called you? Teacher Green is getting more and more enlightened." After stayed with him for so long, she knew all the tricks. "Have you seen the domestic news?" "I've been busy all morning and haven't paid attention to anything else. Is there a problem?" I think you should be careful. Betty Anderson went to Singapore with you on the same flight and stayed at the same hotel as you last night. Today, when you went to the summit, she was also recorded there. Everyone said that you are on vacation together. William Walton laughed disdainfully. This daughter of the Anderson family to be so shameless, could it be some sort of inheritance? Anyway, just be careful. I'm going to read some books. Wait a minute, William Walton called out to her. What do you feel in your heart after reading the news? Hurry up and go back to your work. Don't tease me now. William Walton could not help but smile. Are you jealous? Are you angry? William Walton? When I go back tomorrow afternoon, I'll come to your school to look for you. Don't. I don't want to continue being a celebrity in school. Please spare me. It's hard for you to not want to go viral if you are with me. Who said I am with you? William Walton laughed sinisterly. If you don't be with me, do you think you can still marry with other man? No one dares to be with you, the woman that I liked. Chapter 232. I said I missed you, she said. Only when we get married I can be considered as your woman. If we don't, then no, I won't tell you. I'm hanging up. She hung up. William Walton could already imagine her blushing face. However, he subconsciously looked around and then called Daniel over. Daniel, immediately go and find out where Betty Anderson is. Betty Anderson? William Walton said. Take a look at the news first. Yes, Mr. Walton. Daniel opened his phone, searched for news, and immediately began to make his move. In less than half an hour, they found Betty Anderson, who was just strolling leisurely at the same exhibition center. Daniel sent someone to escort Betty Anderson to see William Walton. Having come into contact with William Walton at such a close distance and seeing his divine face, Betty Anderson couldn't help but blush. Good afternoon, Mr. Walton. William Walton didn't say anything unnecessary and got straight to the point. First of all, immediately get someone to cancel the news you have released. Second, disappear from Singapore at once. I don't know what Mr. Walton is talking about. William Walton laughed coldly. Then are you waiting for me to show you the evidence? I'm just here for a vacation. I just happened to bump into Mr. Walton, that's all. Is that so? William Walton said to Daniel, who was 2 steps behind him. Daniel, investigate and see which blind media dares to randomly write news. After he finished speaking, he looked coldly at Betty Anderson and turned to leave. Betty Anderson hurried forward. Mr. Walton, can I have a few words with you in private? William Walton glanced at Daniel. Daniel turned around and said calmly, Miss Anderson, please stop. Mr. Walton does not have time to chat with you. Mr. Walton, am I worse than Laura? We are all my father's daughters. Why do you want her? William Walton stopped in his tracks and turned around to look at Betty Anderson, his eyes filled with ridicule. You are arrogant, despotic, inhumane, and yet you dare to compare yourself with Laura Green? You really aren't worthy. He coldly snorted and turned around to leave. Daniel could not help but take a deep breath. In this world, the only person who could make Mr. Walton feel soft, that was Miss Green. Betty Anderson stood where she was and clenched her fists. William Walton, even if I can't get your heart, I definitely have to get your body. I definitely can't be outdone by that slut. She took out her cell phone and took the opportunity to say, hurry up and send the news. Even if we are found out, we still have to lead the public opinion first. She put down her cell phone, looked at William Walton's receding figure, and turned to leave. Since she had already achieved her goal, it didn't matter even if she were to be found out. In the afternoon, while she was busy, her cell phone rang again. It was a line message from Judy Allen. She picked up her cell phone and looked at it. It's a real thing. Look at the pictures. Judy Allen also posted a picture. It was of William Walton and Betty Anderson standing face to face. The two of them seemed to be talking about something. She frowned. She didn't think too much and directly sent a message to Judy Allen. Betty Anderson caught up to him. William Walton will handle it. Judy Allen sincerely thought that this girl was very careless. That night, all the news was dismissed. However, there were some things that ended, but the crowd's comments did not disappear. She already got used to these. The next morning, as soon as she arrived at school and saw the eyes of others, she knew that news was still going on. When they arrived at the office, Teacher Sabrina was drinking water. She looked at her with sympathy and asked, Teacher Green, are you all right? Huh? After a moment of confusion, she said with a smile, about the news, right? It's fine. I feel that this news is obviously not true. The person in question hasn't come out yet to clarify anything. I really don't know why others are so fond of discussing about it. Teacher Sabrina, everyone has the heart to gossip. Isn't this the joy of life for everyone? It's fine, just let them talk about it. Hearing her words, Teacher Sabrina jumped in front of her. Didn't Mr. Walton say anything to you? He told me don't worry. Well, it's not all good to have a rich boyfriend, is it? She shrugged her shoulders, and without a word, she sat down in her seat. She was thinking, could William Walton really come over at noon? She had spent the entire morning in torment. After work at noon, she stared at her phone for a few minutes. Teacher Mia got up and said, Teacher Green, let's go eat. Laura Green came back to her, and she smiled. Sure. She stood up and followed Teacher Mia downstairs. Before they even reached the cafeteria, they saw a crowd of students running towards the main path in front of the sports field. Teacher Mia turned around and looked at him puzzledly. What's wrong with you again? She looked around curiously. Not long later, a luxurious car stopped beside the two of them. Seeing the car, the teacher Mia snickered and spoke to the people beside him in a gentle tone. Well, I'm going to be ditched again. Her face was slightly red. Without waiting for her to say anything, William Walton had already gotten off the carriage. He walked to Laura's side and nodded to teacher Mia. I'll have to take Laura away first. The teacher Mia said humbly. Good, I wish you two a happy time. William Walton naturally held on to her waist and escorted her to the carriage. The moment the car door closed, Laura became anxious. Why don't you listen to me? I came here to back you up. Come on, if it wasn't for you exposing my relationship with you at school, I wouldn't have ended up like this, would I? William Walton tapped her forehead. Little Laura, why is it so hard to please you? She curled her lips. I don't ask you to do so. Fine, I owe it to you. It's me who insisted pleasing you, right? Thomas, drive the car to the dining hall. She took a deep breath and turned her head to look at him. William Walton raised his eyebrows and looked at her. She looked away. He scoffed. If you want to watch me, then watch me openly. I didn't want to look at you. I was just wondering. What are you wondering about? She pouted. We're not in a relationship. Why would I want to get in the car with you? Humph. From head to toe, only this mouth of yours is not willing to admit to it. That's why I said, woman, it's just that your mouth is dishonest. Where's my mouth? Ugh. She was about to retort when William Walton had already kissed her on the lips. Her face instantly turned red to the ears. The driver was still inside the car. What the hell was William Walton trying to do? She pushed him away forcefully, her face red. You're crazy. Then you don't know yourself. Huh? Haven't you heard of the gathering of similar substances? You said that you would be happier if someone thought of you as a lunatic or a male god? In terms of bickering, she had never won. William Walton once again poked her head. What are you thinking? I said I missed you. Chapter 233, Childish Gift. She lowered her eyes and said with a flushed face, I heard it. William Walton teased. Then do you have nothing to say to me? She was embarrassed. She looked at Thomas in the front row. Thomas used to be truly nervous when he was in this situation, but now he was used to it. William Walton held her hand. What are you looking at Thomas for? Look at my face. Say you don't have anything to tell me? Yes, I'm hungry, she said, trying to pull her hand free. How could William Walton let her succeed? If you don't speak nicely to me, I won't be polite anymore. She rolled her eyes at him and said, I'm really hungry. Why are you so dishonest? I said I miss you. Shouldn't you reply with something? Seeing that Laura Green still did not say anything, William Walton released her hand and turned to look outside the window. He was angry, she thought. No need for that. Isn't he always so thick-skinned? She raised her hand and scratched her temple a few times. Then she looked at him with the side of her eyes. What do we want to eat? William Walton said in an indifferent manner. Anger. I don't like eating anger. Then why did you give it to me to eat? William Walton turned his head and glared at her. She was depressed. Why did this man look like a 3-year-old child? You and Betty Anderson are abroad and are causing a huge ruckus. Haven't I been eating too much anger these past few days? Today I was at school and everyone looked at me with strange eyes. William Walton turned his head to look at her. So are you missing me or not? She did not answer. William Walton said, Thomas, stop by the road and go back. She looked at him. He did this again. Thomas did not dare to delay and immediately got off. When Mr. Walton met Miss Green, it became a common occurrence. Just as the Thomas left, William Walton moved to the side, pressing her down on his seat. Aren't you very good at solving problems? I'm asking you. Did you miss me? William Walton, you are too unreasonable. Did you only know me today? She awkwardly turned her face away. Who said she had to use her mouth to say it? Seeing her attitude, he directly pinched her cheeks and passionately kissed her lips. It was only when she was kissed to the point of going limp that he finally let go of her. You're not going to tell me? You still want me to continue? She quickly said, I miss you. To be able to bend and stretch, wasn't she the same in front of him? Sincerely or perfunctorily? Sincerely, she said impatiently. Get up. I have another question. Why do you have so many questions today? William Walton laughed sinisterly. Because I want to hear you praise me and also look for opportunities to take advantage of you. She pursed her lips. All in all, it's all because of your benefits. That's right. I'm more inclined towards the latter, so you can continue to be stubborn. He pinched her chin and asked with a gentle expression, I'm not by your side. Are you sleeping well? She looked tenderly into his eyes and lightly bit the corner of her lips. He lowered his head and kissed her again. After a while, she let go and said while panting, I didn't say that I wouldn't answer. You seduced me. Did I? She felt wronged, okay? He tapped her chin. The way you bite your lip is too seductive. Her face red. This man was truly, in order to take advantage of the situation, he did everything he could. Now, you can answer the question. She looked at his face and shook her head. No. He smiled happily and sat up from her body. That's good. She sat up and gathered up her wrinkled clothes. Are you hoping that I won't be able to sleep well? That's right. The reason you can't sleep well is because you're missing someone. It's because you're used to my existence, and then you can't quit. You'll be addicted to me for the rest of your life. How great. She looked at him, her eyes filled with affection. She knew she was finished. Even if she reminded herself hundreds of times, thousands of times, that she mustn't fall, she still failed. A person like William Walton was truly too hard to reject. Even if she used all her strength, she really wouldn't be able to do it. He took out his phone and called Thomas. Come back. Thomas did not go far. Every time. Arriving at the dining hall, William Walton took the menu and muttered to himself, since you can't read, then let me order the dishes. She knew William Walton had definitely done it on purpose. The last time he came, he had mocked her because of this. This time, however, he was even more unbridled. She said in a displeased tone after they placed the order, since this is a restaurant opened on American territory, why don't you have an English menu? Who said there aren't any? William Walton smirked. If you don't ask for the English menu, the waiter will think that you're capable. After all, everyone who comes here to eat has some skills, so it's not impossible for you to be illiterate. She gritted her teeth. Is it fun to mock me? After all, you're good at science. It's normal that you don't know how to read and write. Okay, I won't tease you, he said, pulling a gift bag from his bag and handing it to her. What is this? She asked warmly. Present. Open it and take a look. When she opened the bag, she saw that there was a doll which could be hung on the phone inside. She took it out and looked at it, frowning. William Walton said, Look, who do you think the face above is like? She only took a glance and couldn't help but chuckle. Isn't this your face? I got someone to make them a pair, he said, pulling out his cell phone and waving it in front of her. He showed her the back of the puppet, which was engraved with the words Third Madam of the Landlord's Family. She quickly flipped the puppet over. Third Young Master of the Landlord's Family was engraved on it. She couldn't help covering her mouth and chuckling. William Walton was becoming more and more childish. She glanced at him. You're a dignified CEO. Don't you think others will laugh at you if you carry this? Have you forgotten my words? She shrugged. That's true. She was about to put the doll in her bag. William Walton was displeased. I gave you a present. Is it for you to keep? I was planning to put it on my cell phone when I got home. Do it now. The hole in my phone is too small. The thread is so thick. How can I get into it? William Walton spread out his hands. Give it to me. She handed the phone and the doll to him. William Walton called the waiter over and got someone to find the tools. Soon, he returned the phone to her. Protect me well. She raised her hand and patted the golem's face. Then it has to be obedient. Sigh, little Laura, you want me to kiss you, right? His voice was not soft, and her face blushed. Shh. William Walton could not help but smile. This woman, he really did not know what to say to her. Oh yeah. Laura Green put down her phone, looked at him and asked, Yesterday, you went to see Betty Anderson, right? Chapter 234, Encountering Carol Wright by Chance. It seems that you've read quite a bit of the news, she said in a calm manner. This matter has caused a storm to break out throughout the city. I can't avoid it even if I don't want to. I did see her, but the photos on the reports were handled by the PS. I sent people to capture her in front of me. At that time, there was someone by my side, and there were also people behind her. Then, why did you want to see her? Of course, it's to warn her. By the way, let her know that she doesn't even know how much she's worth, and she still dares to compete with you. Laura could not help but smile. I've seen your vicious tongue before. She must be angry. Are you gloating? Yep. You can see it? She looked calm. William Walton shook his head and laughed. Don't you think that the two of us are perfect partners? As she thought about it, she realized that this was indeed the case. He was different from others in front of her. In front of him, she was the same as well. Why aren't you talking? She shrugged her shoulder. Think about it. It's a good match. He leaned forward. So, you're not going to marry me? No way. Sigh, what a stinky and hard bone. Then why are you still chewing on it? William Walton asked. Didn't you notice? That's my style. She could not help but laugh. I found it. Before the waiter even came, they first saw Carol Wright walking in from outside the dining hall. Carol Wright also saw them. She walked over with a surprised look on her face. William, Miss Green, why are you guys here as well? William Walton looked behind her. You are alone? Yes, I've always wanted to eat the dishes here recently, but Jack didn't want to come over, so I've been coming over by myself for the past few days. As she spoke, she looked at Miss Green. Miss Green, do you mind if I eat with you guys? She nodded. No, our meal hasn't arrived yet. Carol Wright looked at William Walton, and just when she was about to sit beside him, William Walton had already stood up. You sit over here. I'll go sit with Laura. Joy filled her heart as she moved to the side. Carol Wright paused for a moment, but still calmly walked over and sat down. When the waiter came, Carol Wright ordered the dishes without even looking at the menu. At this time, William Walton's and Laura Green's meals had already arrived. Carol Wright clasped her hands together, looked at the two people's dishes, and laughed. William, we're ordering the same. William Walton did not make a sound. In contrast, she was a bit unhappy. She said to William Walton, Eat it later. Give your food to the Miss Wright. She is pregnant. Don't let her be hungry. William Walton did not object, and pushed the steak that he had already sliced in half to Carol Wright. Carol Wright naturally accepted it. Then I really won't be courteous anymore. Her heart sank as her eyes touched the phone hanging on the table. Then she asked, Miss Green, your doll looks so unique. Is it him? She looked at the golem and smiled. It's him. It's great to be young. Your love is quite romantic. This is a gift from William Walton. He has a relatively young mentality. William Walton said in an interested manner, Could it be that my body is very old? Compared to me, you are not young. William Walton snorted. So you think I'm old? Laura rolled her eyes. Why is this guy so pretentious? You had to pick the right words for this kind of thing. You're not old, you're young and handsome. I heard sarcasm. That's because your ears aren't good. Seeing the two of them flirting like this, Carol Wright felt even worse. In the past, when he was with her, he talked less. She had always thought he didn't like to talk. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but clench her glass tightly. Laura Green was too lazy to argue with him. She looked at Carol Wright and said, Miss Wright, have you been well these few days? It's different from usual. Carol Wright said with a headache. There's always a lack of spirit. One always wants to sleep, and the moment I sleep, I can't wake up. Furthermore, I always want to eat some strange things, such as steak. William, you know, I don't usually eat much. William Walton did not reply but said, If you want to eat, eat. If you want to sleep, sleep. If you take good care of yourself, Jack Walton will also feel gratified. After all, Jack Walton has been looking forward to seeing this child for many years. At the side, Laura Green was somewhat puzzled. She wasn't pregnant, so why was she so obsessed with sleeping recently? Why was she unable to extricate herself? Carol Wright glanced at William Walton, her expression carrying a trace of disappointment. She didn't look at them, instead focusing on slicing the steak. Seeing her cut so badly, William Walton simply pulled the plate in her hand in front of him. Look at your work. You really are stupid enough. She retorted. In any case, you have to eat it no matter what. It's not like you want to turn it into a flower just because you want to eat it. Opposite of them, Carol Wright was laughing at her words. Miss Green, this person, William, has always been meticulous in his pursuit of perfection. When you are with him, you have to slowly get used to his small personality. She pouted and looked at William Walton. You are a completist, aren't you? I used to be, but now I've been grinded by you. There's nothing left, he snorted. I've discovered that you as a woman can really change others. She could not help but laugh. It's obvious that your stand is not firm enough. Why did you push your change onto me? Carol Wright lowered her eyes and continued to eat. She felt sad in her heart. It seemed that whatever she said now was wrong. Did he like Laura Green that much? To the extent. Even if he knew she was there, he wouldn't hesitate to show it to her. After dinner, the three of them arrived at the entrance of the restaurant. Carol Wright said to William Walton, William, I just happened to meet you. Can I talk to you for a bit? William Walton asked, Is that a very important matter? Carol Wright caressed her lower abdomen. Matters regarding to the child. She said to William Walton, I'll go to the car and wait for you. William Walton nodded. I'll be there shortly. After Laura Green left, Carol Wright sighed. You have changed. I noticed this as well, William Walton said as he looked at her. Tell me what you want to say. Carol Wright lowered her eyes and said after hesitating for a moment, Do you really not plan to help me persuade Jack? Persuading what? What? You still have thoughts of giving up on this child? William, do you really not understand me? She looked at him sadly. I really don't want to. I don't want to. I can't give birth to a child who belongs to a man I don't love. Carol, he rebuked her words and looked at her sharply. What should you say? What shouldn't you say? Have you lost any idea of what to do? Carol Wright turned sideways and suddenly hugged him. I'm in great pain. At this moment, in a car not too far away, when she saw this scene, she covered her mouth in surprise and looked away. Chapter 235. If they were to fight with him, they would definitely suffer a loss. He calmly pulled her away from him and took 2 steps back, maintaining a distance from her. Seeing his expression, she furrowed her brows. So you already dislike me that much? He said in a deep voice. Carol, you probably haven't forgotten that I'm already your brother-in-law. Even if Jack isn't here, our relationship doesn't allow us to do this. Our actions will not only hurt Jack, it will also harm Laura. You mention her again. Can't you stop using her to anger me when she's not here? I know that you love her very much. I didn't want you two to split up. I'm in pain right now, and just wanted you to help me. What do you think I can help you with? I was really afraid that I would give birth to this child, but I didn't love him, and I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to take responsibility for his future. I didn't want this child to live in a family without a mother's love. I really don't understand. Jack's body is already like this. Why does he have to have this child? Jack sacrificed his body. For whom? You can't be clearer than that in your heart, you. I know, she interrupted him, her heart filled with remorse. You simply don't understand how much I wish he hadn't saved me if I could have reversed the flow of time. How much I wish I had died in that accident. Nelson, then I won't have to marry someone I don't love. I can even more so make you love me for your entire life instead of acting like this. Do you know how painful it is for me to look at you? William Walton was truly unwilling to continue these meaningless topics. If you don't want children, you should do something about it. Since this child has come, you should not disregard life. I didn't do it voluntarily. It was Jack who was... Enough. I have no reason to listen to you talk about matters between you and Jack. Carol, I have no reason to listen to you talk about matters between you and Jack. That's all I can say. There are some things that you should think about for yourself. He raised his wrist and looked at the time. It's time for me to send her back to school. You should go back as soon as possible. He walked around her. Carol Wright lowered her eyes and stood in place, not moving an inch. Mwah. Laura lowered her head and looked at her phone. William Walton opened the door and sat down, then said to the driver, "Let's go." After she putting down the phone, she did not look at him. Instead, she turned her head to look at Carol Wright, who was standing alone at the entrance of the restaurant, with her eyes lowered. As the car drove away, she looked away and thought about the hug they had just had. William Walton lifted his hand and held her hand. It was very natural. She was so angry that she wanted to break free, but he held her hand tightly. She turned her head and glared at him. "I want to see the news from the class group." He smiled. "You saw it just now?" "I didn't see anything," she said, tugging at her hand again. "Stop pulling. You won't be able to make it." "William Walton," she said loudly. He raised his eyebrows. Go ahead." She snorted and looked out the window, not wanting to say anything. William Walton said, "She was a bit agitated. That's why she lost her composure. I've already told her to be more careful with her words and actions." "Who wants to hear your explanation? What you want to do is your own business, and I'm not yours." William Walton was not angry because of her tone. He only sneered calmly. She frowned and turned her head to look at him. William Walton said calmly, "You said that you didn't see anything, but you are angry. Heart of women are needles under the sea." "You." He took her hand. He put his arm around her shoulders and looked down at her. "Don't worry. I know what I'm supposed to do." She nudged him a few times, unable to get away. He whispered into her ear, "Are you giving me a chance to kiss you?" She instantly lost her temper. If she fought with him, she would still be at a disadvantage. Sending her back to the door of the school building, she opened the door to get out of the car, but he said, "Actually, I think you can take a break from work in the near future." "Why? There are a lot of people talking about you in the school. Wouldn't it affect your mood if they talked about you?" She curled her lips and snorted, "You don't even think about who gave it to me. But I feel very happy, because we are openly linked together." Her face blushed slightly, completely forgetting about the hug he had with Carol Wright. "I don't want to take a vacation. It seems like I did something wrong," she said as she got out of the car. "You can go back. I'll pick you up after work this afternoon." "No need." "Then it's decided. Close the door." She looked at him for a moment. After a long while, she didn't say anything and just closed the door. He wouldn't listen to her. Let him go. In any case, her reputation was already like that. Back at the office, she poured herself a glass of hot water. Just as she sat down, Teacher Sabrina came in from outside and said excitedly, "Teacher Green, let me tell you, the woman who spread the rumors with Third Master 2 days ago is downstairs." She put down her cup and went out. Teacher Sabrina quickly followed her out. She was very curious why that person wanted to find Teacher Green. Arriving at the entrance of the building, she walked in front of Betty Anderson. With a cold expression, she asked, "What are you doing here?" Betty Anderson said angrily, "I'm not feeling good. Do you think I will let you feel good? Laura, you actually dare to fight with me over a man that I've taken a fancy to? Who do you think you are?" As she spoke, she gave her a gentle push. This was still a school after all, so Laura Green didn't want to make things big. Since there weren't many people watching, she bluntly grabbed onto Betty Anderson's hair and pulled her into the car. Betty Anderson shouted in pain, "Are you crazy?" She looked at her with a cold gaze. "You better be quiet, otherwise I will beat you up for your nose that has been stuck up for so much money." Hearing her words, Betty Anderson hurriedly lifted her hand to cover her nose. "Do you want to die?" She looked at the driver and said, "Drive the car and leave school." The driver awkwardly turned his head to look at Betty Anderson, who shouted, "You are not allowed to drive." She raised her eyebrows and looked at Betty Anderson calmly. "It looks like you really do not know how great you are. Do you want to know who William Walton will choose between you and me?" She took out her phone. "Do you believe that as long as I make a phone call, William Walton will immediately come and humiliate you until you can't even find a mouse hole?" Betty Anderson stared at her. Her face was filled with anger, and shouted to the driver, "Drive!" The chauffeur hurriedly drove the car out of the school. She said, "Stop the car." The driver pulled over to the side of the road. She looked provocatively at Betty Anderson. If a tiger did not show its might, she would really be treated like a sick cat.